Hey folks, it's Bert. Welcome back. Sorry, I've been gone so very, very long. Those of you who know, I did not die. I'm not in jail. I'm busy working on my doctorate. That kind of stuff takes a lot of time. A lot of time. And frankly, I just had to tell myself, okay, what do I need to do? How can I balance my life and my work and all this stuff? And I had to say, all right, the Exocet's not going anywhere. It's still right here. I just need to focus on my schoolwork. And school has always been a very enjoyable thing for me, and I very much like it. I'm not one of those people who's going to go to school just to say, "Oh, I'm a doctor. Call me doctor." Like, no, I'm not going to actually save people's lives. That's not my not my desire. I generally probably would be quite bad at saving people's lives since I have terrible bedside manner. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's like 2:30 in the morning. And I just woke up and I said, I've got to start making videos again. I'm still in my pajama pants, which is awesome because I usually don't shoot this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking I'm going to take a little bit more of a laid-back approach to doing a lot of the stuff. I'm not going to be hopefully not as stupid. Don't quote me on that one. But kind of give you guys a quick rundown update of the Exocet situation here. So with the Exocet, let me go ahead and turn this camera around. Now, for the Exocet here, I did send it off for the Pennsylvania Enhanced Inspection. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pennsylvania is really a pain in the butt when it comes to getting stuff like this inspected because we have a ton of safety litigation for stuff that they want to have done. So, like in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Exocet was born, you don't even have to have fender flares or like a windshield or a lot of that stuff. In Pennsylvania, you've got to have a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go over some of the things, and you'll notice there's this weird panel here. In the state of Pennsylvania, I have to have something on there for the enhanced inspection process so that they can see that, yes, the driver's compartment, the passenger compartment is, in fact, protected from flying objects. So a lot of stuff has kind of gone through changes. I've had some electrical problems with some electrical gremlins in this thing. I haven't quite gotten a lot of them figured out. The engine bays remained pretty much the same. I finally figured out my issue with the turn signals and all that fun stuff in this wonderful hunk of crap that I will eventually trim all that out. I have a Mega Squirt too, which I'll plug into that once we throw in our forced induction. I'm not going to tell you guys if it's turbo or supercharged. I'll let that be a surprise. So there's a couple things. We'll start at the front, really. So we had to add this very heavy-duty bumper here because in order to prevent, from when I hit someone, let's say they end up getting eaten by the car. So I had to add this, and this is, what is this? What is it? 3/8 heavy-duty steel. I decided to go a bit overboard on it. I can take it off if need be. It's just got some heavy-duty rivnuts that go into the chassis here. I was very careful whenever I drill any holes in this thing. I'm not going to drill into any round frame parts because that would be structurally very stupid. On the front here, we also had added some day running indicators, very similar to what the Miata originally had. We've added turn signals to the sides of the bonnet. And one thing that PennDOT did not like was our headlights. Our headlights here. So they're very, very, very much about safety. Maybe a little overkill, but they want something that is EAS rated. So these headlights, while they are EAS rated, they do not have the EAS stamp on them, and they are requiring that I have the EAS stamp on them. And if you look inside, there's also a turn signal mounted inside the light bulb. Now, while that wouldn't really be an issue, PennDOT has determined that that is an issue. So those have to go away. So I will be getting different headlights that actually have the EAS stamp on them, and then we should be fine. I had to also mount the headlights further forward because they were too far back originally, and that was considered to be unsafe. Those of you who will notice, yes, there is this mesh here. So one thing that they were extremely specific on is they don't want the engine bay to actually be accessible from the outside. So you can't just, come in here and stick your hand in here and get a hold of all the stuff that you don't really want people getting a hold of. So I had to add that on both sides. And it's not a like beautiful job, but it's going to get where you need to go. It should get us to where we need to be. A couple other things. Now with the windshield here, the windshield is double laminated, so they were very specific on having to have the AS. I think it's what does it say? AS1. And if we zoom in right here, you can see it says AS1 right there. So we are good for the windshield. That's one thing that they were saying that, it needs to have. It did have, but I think that there was just a miscommunication from PennDOT. Turn signals was another thing that they were upset about, because the Miata, it doesn't have a lot of juice going through the power block. And an issue with that is that not running the stock stuff, even though we're running mostly stock electrical, the turn signals on one side are very bright, but if you run the four ways, they're actually not that bright. Good example here is those are running, but mind you, we're in a garage. And if I turn on the turn signals, that's a lot brighter. That's a turn signal. And that's a four-way. Now, while I'm realizing now on the camera, I'm not actually doing it justice, there's about a 50% difference in brightness. So I've got to figure that out. I'm probably going to have to rewire something else around it. Not a big deal. Nothing else has really changed back here. One thing is that there is the reverse light switch sensor on the transmission. I can't seem to get it to work. Don't know why. So what I did is I installed a little switch right here that turns on, and that turns on the reversing lights. So that's just a manual override, and that just clicks on, and that'll work whenever the car is in reverse. Originally, I had it wired up to, I think it was the first switch. I think it was wired up to the first switch. Second one, I think, is the horn. Yep. And that is the, and that one there, sorry, didn't realize I wasn't showing you guys. So, reversing light, horn, and this was that's the auxiliary cooling fan in the event that we will need it, which we probably will on a very hot day. Other than that, not much else has changed. I'm just screwing with the lights and that in the back. And she's still a riot to drive. I do periodically take it for a putz around the old parking lot, and I absolutely love this thing. The big thing for me is just not having time. Yeah, the Exocet's still here. I'm still here. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. I actually had this at the shop that was doing the enhanced inspection for probably about 5 months, until PennDOT finally came back and said, hey, you got to fix all this stuff. And really, the stuff that they're upset about is not, I give it all. I'm a very arbitrary person, so I'll say yes. I think they're valid. I think they're being a little overkill, but that's, it is what it is. One other potential pain in my rear end is I had originally installed a hand-operated windshield wiper. Now, obviously, this thing having a windshield like this, it's a little difficult to actually get a windshield wiper on there. So what I did is I got one of the Polaris, one of their off-road vehicles. I don't know what the 4x4s are called that have 2 seats. There's like the ZRZ and all those other weird things. I don't think that's a Polaris, though. I got a Polaris windshield wiper, and it's got a 90-degree swing on it sitting over there on my table, and I have to 3D print some mounts, and I'm going to have it come up underneath the old windshield here and go back and forth, and then I actually have to install a windshield washer sprayer. So that'll be a little interesting. We'll figure out how that works. Not sure. But in reality, she's almost done. And I knew at this point, yes, it's going on almost 2 years to get this project done. But it's always going to take a long time for the first time. And I kind of expected PennDOT to kind of bust my balls a little bit. So there's that. Another thing I need to ask you guys is, what do we want to do with the channel after we're done with this thing? Because, I mean, we can keep adding stuff to it, but I don't know if that's really necessary. I'd like to build another one, but there's also a lot of other cool things I could build as well. And one thing I'd like to actually end up doing is taking this thing for a trip around the country to go to some tracks, maybe Laguna Seca. That'd be a long drive. But I'd like to get a toy hauler or something that's like beat up and rebuild it and remodel it, because I'm actually quite good with my hands with building stuff, and home remodeling is actually a pretty good aspect of that as well. So we'll have to see. If you guys have any ideas, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll be definitely keeping an eye on the channel a little bit more. And I want to bring the channel back to life. I just don't know what to do right now. I'd like to do some gaming, and maybe we actually have a VR game that recently launched called Wrench for the Oculus, Oculus Touch, and it shows you how to bolt by bolt build this very vehicle. And it's actually based off of the 1.6 liter Miata engine, but there's really not a whole lot of mechanical difference. It doesn't have a lot of the electrical stuff. It doesn't have some of the steering and some of the braking stuff. Some of that stuff I'm sure they're going to be adding. But it's got the chassis, it's got the wheels, the brakes, the calipers, the suspension, and the engine down to the thrust bearings on the inside of the piston and the individual piston rings. So it's actually a really good game. I will highly suggest taking a look at it at least. It's actually a very impressive piece of work that they put together, and I'm very happy with it. Other than that, guys, it's good to be back. I missed you all. I look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing your messages and your hate mail and all that other fun stuff. Gotta love hate mail. And we'll just go from there. I'm not sure what's on the plate for this year. I don't really know. Especially with school, I'm going to take a bit of a break from it for now because I feel like my brain's about to melt. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just don't know what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, which makes it kind of difficult as well, especially with housework and normal work and schoolwork and running this. And I've got a couple other projects on my plate. I don't have a lot of time. So hopefully we can figure out something cool to do. Maybe gaming. I'll have to think about it. Everybody's doing gaming right now. Don't know if I want to play Apex Legends, so we'll wait and see on that one. Anyway, guys, until next time, I am Bert from Pixel Armory. Like, favorite, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.